Alright, we meet again on TorahAnytime.com, the greatest invention for dissemination of Torah in the modern world. God's reason for the internet, as you see on the sign right here. Hashem's reason for the internet. So let us now talk about the month of Elul. Rosh Chodesh Elul just was Tuesday, Wednesday. Now it's Thursday. First day of Slichot for Sfaradim. So they have a difficult time every morning, 5 o'clock, for an hour or so, and Ashkenazim only have to do it a few days before Rosh Hashanah. This year Rosh Hashanah is on a Thursday. So we have a 3-day Yom Tov, Thursday, Friday, Shabbos. And first day Sukkot is Thursday, Friday, Shabbos. And the last 3 days of Sukkot is Thursday, Friday, Shabbos. So it's good if you go to Israel and you want to teal the whole week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. You can teal for weekdays. Let's talk a little bit about the month of Elul. Elul is the 12th month, because Tishrei is the first month. So why does the Torah say on the seventh day, on the first day of the 7th month is Yom Teruah, the day of Teruah? How can it be the first day of the 7th month if it's the first day of the first month? So if you go on TorahAnytime.com in 2 days, you're going to see 18 questions and answers on Elul. I will give you the questions and answers right now. That's one of the questions I just asked. Why do we blow shofar in Elul? Sfaradim don't, Ashkenazim do. Why do we blow shofar in Elul? There's no mitzvah, only on the first day of the year, which is the first day of the 7th month. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, of Elul, Tishrei, 7. Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, of Elul, Tishrei, 7. First day of the 7th month. I thought it's the first day of the first month. That's what you have to study the calendar. We have 2 calendars, the solar and the lunar. There is 2 calendars, the solar and the lunar, and the Jewish calendar is a mixture of both, solar and lunar. The Christian calendar is the solar, the Muslim calendar is the lunar, the Jewish calendar is the mixture of both. Because we have 2 Rosh Hashanahs, we have 4 Rosh Hashanahs. We have 1 Rosh Hashanah for the year, when you're judged, man or woman, Jew and Gentile, rain or no rain, that's on the first day of the month of Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah. But it's not the head of the months, it's the head of the years. Then the Jewish people have their own calendar, starting with the first Yom Tov, the Pesach. That's the first month, Nisan, for Yom Tov. And then there's other Rosh Hashanahs. We have 4 Rosh Hashanahs. And in the tax world, you have the Rosh Hashanah is April 15th. And the fiscal books in certain corporations have to be closed by July or June 30th. There's many starting points for different things. Your birthday is the beginning of a new year, regardless what day of the year it happens. So we have Abba Rosh Hashanah in Chaim. We have 4 Rosh Hashanahs. First day of Tishrei, first day of Nisan, first day of Elul, and the 1st or the 15th day of Schwab, for different things. So we have these 18 questions. Why do we blow shofar in Elul? Why do we get up for Slichot in Elul? Why do we do Hatoras Nedorim, nullification of vows, in Elul? Why do we do extra tshuva in Elul? What is the message we learn from the words of Elul, Aleph, Lamed, Vav, Lamed? Why do we say L'David Hashem Ori? Ashkenazim say that for 40 days, 30 days of Elul and 10 days into Tishrei till Yom Kippur. The David Hashem Ori is the David Hashem Ori is the Mizmor 27, I think. Why do we go to the mikvah Erev Rosh Hashanah? Why do we fast Erev Rosh Hashanah? Can the shofar come from any kosher animal? Must the shofar be curved by man, or naturally curved or twisted by nature? Must Can it be very, very short? Can it be very, very long? Can it have a deep tone or a high tone? When do you blow the shofar in Elul? How much do you blow? How many times a day, and what do you blow? What are the three versions of Tekiyah? What are the three versions of Shvarim? What are the two versions of Teruah? Can the one be Yosef with the mechanical reproduction of the sound of the shofar? Like a CD, or a tape, or a radio, or telephone, or microphone, or PA system, or an echo? Next question, shouldn't you do tshuva before you go to trial? Shouldn't Yom Kippur come before Rosh Hashanah? Why is it backwards? First you stand trial, then you try to break the decision of the dayan and have the case appealed. Why don't you first prepare, do tshuva, when you're all cleaned up, you go to trial. Why do you go to trial first and then appeal it? Why is Rosh Hashanah before Yom Kippur? You should be Yom Kippur before Rosh Hashanah. Why isn't the first day of Rosh Hashanah the first day of the year? Why don't Sfardim do kaporet with a tarnagol, with a rooster? Why don't Sfardim go to tashlich? If they go, it's not a Sfardi minute. Since shofar is gematria 586, and in the Shulchan Aruch, Dinei shofar comes out to Siman 586. Is that just a coincidence? You want to know the answers to these questions? Okay. Why do we blow shofar in Elul? First of all, we don't blow shofar in Elul, only if you're a Sfard, only if you're an Ashkenazi, not a Sfard. They go to Slichot for an hour, we blow shofar for 30 seconds. So we get off a little easier in Elul, and they have it a little difficult in Elul, but they have it very easy in Nisan. They eat kitnios, but we can't. And in the 9 days they have meat and swim. Not in the Shavua Shechalbo, but we can't swim the whole 9 days or eat meat. So they have it easier and we have it harder. Now they have it harder, we have it easier. Why do we blow shofar in Elul? It's a minhag Yisrael, to awaken the people up for tshuva. Hayitoka shofar be'ir. The Navi says, is it possible to blow a shofar in a city? Va'am lo yecharadu. The people will not be afraid. It's not a trumpet. A shofar is a sign of something terrible coming. Fear, tshuva. A trumpet is victory. Different thing altogether. Why do we get up for slichot in Elul? Because Hashem is very close to us in Elul. We're doing tshuva. We want Him, we want to forgive, ask Hashem to forgive us for all the averis we did. You know that Elul, the gematria is 67, and you know that 6 and 7 is 13. We would like to think over the Yud Gimel Ikarim, the 13 principles that the world is based on. You read that in the Ani Mamin, the 13 principles. Elul is 67, and 6 and 7 is 13. It's called Mispar Koton. The 13 Ikarim. You want to think about the Yud Gimel Midos of Hashem, God's 13 attributes: Hashem, Kel, Rachel, Mechanun, Erech, Apayim, Rab, Chesed, Noseh, Chesed, Lo Alofim, Noseh Oven, Lofeshe, Bechadov, and Akei. And you want to remember the 13 Midos of Talmud Torah, Gzera Shova, Kal V'chomer, etc. That you didn't learn enough Torah, so you don't know these things, you don't know how to darshan correctly. The Yud Gimel Midos of Talmud Torah, the Yud Gimel Midos of Hashem, the Yud Gimel Ikarim, and you have to remember that you were bar mitzvah at 13 and you remain your whole life a bar mitzvah, that you started at 13, 6 and 7 is 13. Did you break some of these mitzvahs? That's why Elul is 13, 67, 6 and 7 is 13. But the letters Elul stands for Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li, a pasuk in Shir Hashirim. I am for my friend and my friend is for me. If I turn to Hashem, He returns to me. Ani ledodi v'dodi li elul. And also it stands for, I will circumcise your hearts and the hearts of your children. Es levavecha ve'es levav zarecha. That's elul. Or it's the last letters of these words. Lo yachel devaro bakol. Never break your word of any promise you ever made. Lo end with an aleph. Yachel end with a lamed. Devaro end with a vav. Kechol end with a lamed. Aleph lamed vav lamed. Lo yachel devaro kechol. It's a pasuk. You don't break any words. That's why you have hataras nedarim before Rosh Hashanah. You broke your word. And slichot is prayers, and you do al cheid and al shamnu, and you're so sorry, and you try to ask Hashem for slicha, for forgiveness. You know that slichot comes out to the gematria of 514. 5 and 1 and 4 is 10. You ask Hashem to forgive you for breaking the aseres adibros. All right. Why do we do what? Why do we do hatoras nedarim? Before Rosh Hashanah, you get 3 people together and you be mater your neder of saying something that you didn't keep your word. That's just like kol nidre, which is hatoras nedarim. You said something and you didn't keep your word. Such a bad thing to be a liar. We want before Rosh Hashanah to say every promise that I made and I forgot about. They asked the 3 men in the Bezdin to be matir your neder. They say mutilach, mutilach, mutilach. And that's the same thing as repeated on Yom Kippur. Kol nidrei, b'charomei. Yes, what's the question?
Can one ask to have the vows annulled in writing? Like if you just write a letter to judges, can they forgive it? Or
seems to be you have to do it verbally. They have to say to you, because you said it with your mouth, you didn't write it. They have to matter it with their mouths. And Kol Nidrei is the same thing. Kol Nidrei, all promises. They should be batul, mavutul, and considered nothing. That was started by the Moranos in the Inquisition, because they openly said they're Christians, but they really weren't. So they come together once a year and say, all these promises we made to the church are nothing. Forget about them. You don't mean it. We don't mean it. We want to annul the vows. Why do we do extra tshuva in Elul? Because God is very close to us in the last month. He's giving you a last chance. What is the message we learn from the words of Elul? Well, I just told you. Ani ledodi v'dodi li, and I will circumcise es levav es levav, and the hearts of your children. Or lo yachal devaruk b'chol. Don't nullify any words that you said. Always keep every promise. Why do we say the Dovah Hashem Ori in Elul? Well, in there it talks about Pei Sukkos and Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. The Dovah Hashem Ori. Ori is my light. That's Yom Kippur. Your Ori is Rosh Hashanah. The Yishi, my salvation. That's Yom Kippur. Ori Yishi Me'ira. Ki Yitzv'neini B'Sukkot. He has hid me, David said, in his sukkah, in his hidden place. He protected me against my enemies. That is a remez to Sukkos. And Lulei, it says in there, Lulei, which is backward Elul. So that means the month of Elul. It's Kabbalistic. The whole prayer, the Dovah Hashem Ori, that's not Kabbalistic, but referring to Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Sukkot, and Elul, that's all Kabbalistic. Therefore, the original Ashkenazim do not say it. Tafi Kabbalah. They don't say it. But they do, the original Ashkenazim, Minnick Frankfurt, is they blow shofar in the morning, not just Tekiah, Schwab through his Tekiah, but 3 times. That's 3 times 4 is 12. And they blow again after Mincha, like it says in the Shulchan Aruch, Ba'arvit, I mean before night, after Mincha, they blow 12 in the morning, 12 in the afternoon. That's the Mincha, old Mincha Ashkenaz. They don't say the Dovah Hashem Ori. Why do we go to the mikveh Erev Rosh Hashanah? Because it's the last day of the year. You want to purify yourself. Just like you go to the mikveh Erev Yom Kippur, the holiest day of the year, where it's the biggest gift you ever had to wipe out your history, bad history. Or if you're a sandik, You got to go to mikveh before you hold the baby the next morning, or before you get married. The chassan should go to mikveh. Of course, the wife goes to the mikveh. The husband goes to go to mikveh too. Before you undertake a very holy thing, you go to the mikveh. Why do we fast on Erev Rosh Hashanah? People don't know this. Man, woman, and child. Well, not child. A man, woman, and every child above 12 and 13 has to fast half a day Erev Rosh Hashanah. That's right. It's not a chumrah. This is a din. Fast half a day. Can the shofar come from any kosher animal? No. Cannot come from a deer. Only from a wild sheep called a ram. Want to see a picture of it? I don't know if the camera can zoom in on this, but the camera should zoom in on this. Let me show you. This is a picture of a deer. Not a deer, a wild sheep. This is a ram, an ayil. A wild 300, 400, 500 pound ram. It's called an ayil. It's not a backyard goat or sheep. It's a wild sheep. It's an ayil. It's not a deer. You cannot hold the camera. You cannot use animals like this for shofars, even though they're kosher. This is a deer. This is not called, their horns are not called shofars. They're called keren, a horn, solid bone. Can't use deer horns, even though deers are kosher. Can't use it. Only can use a wild sheep called a ram, because their horns are hollow inside. It's called a shofar, a pipe. So there, here, can we use any kosher animal? No. It has to be a ram, nothing else. When must the shofar be curved by man? Like we have a shofar this way, and it, look, comes up. That's not the way it's on you just saw in that picture. Sometimes it's straight like that. Sometimes a little curve. This is made by man. How did they do it? They take that shofar off, and the animal drops it every season, grows new horns. All animals, all wild animals. By the way, every single animal that's kosher has horns. You know that? We can't eat any animal that doesn't have horns. Every single animal that is kosher has horns. The male cow is called a bull. Thank you so much. Goats have horns. Rams have horns. There's very few animals that we can eat. Deers have horns. We can eat them, but they're not shofars. They're called keren. Anyhow, a shofar. This is man-made. They take a shofar. The animal drops it every season. They put it in water or vinegar for months till it becomes soft like a noodle. They can shape it any way they want. Can you use a man-made shofar, or must you use a naturally twisted shofar like we saw over here? Must it be like this, or can it be manipulated by man? Now the Rambam holds that it has to be natural like this. Show you the Rambam shofar. The Rambam shofar is this one right here. And it cannot be manipulated by man. We hold that it can be formed by man. So, doesn't have to be naturally twisted. Rambam says yes. We can make it any shape we want. That was one of the questions here. The question was, can it be very short? Yes, as long as it's longer than a tefach, so the person doesn't think you're blowing through your hand. It has to be longer than 4 inches, because this is about 3.5, 4 inches. It has to stick out here a little bit and here a little bit. It can be very short, about 4 inches, and it can be very long, any long you want. It can be twisted 20 times, 1 time, no times. It should be twisted once up, because kafuf, twisted means we're also supposed to be twisted when we talk to God. We have to be bent over and subservient to Hashem. It should be kafuf at least once. It could be very long if you want. It could be very short, but it should be twisted. Rambam says naturally twisted. We can even twist it our own way. We can twist it any way we want. It can be any very short. It can be very long. It can be very low voice, very high voice. We don't care. The best shofars in the world, the ones that put fear in your heart, are the ones that are very expensive, not the $50 shofars, but $250. The walls are thin, very thin, and the sound has a woo, really high. It scares you, not a deep thing, but something that is like an alarm. When do we blow? We blow in the morning after Aleinu, before the David Hashem Ori, and we blow in the evening after Aleinu. If you say it's David Hashem Ori or not, you blow in the afternoon after Mincha. Now the three versions of the kiyah. Let me show you how the three versions sound. The three types of the kiyahs. One is a pshuta, and one is a hook on the end. And some say you have a hook in the beginning. Hook at the beginning, or hook at the end, or straight. Now you get to shvarim. Shvarim are three. Could be woo, 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 or woo, 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 or tu, tu, tu. We get the trua. It could be, or it could be like Prasad Yagon says, waves, curves. That's the way. Some blow, drua. Different shitas. Everybody does their own minhag. Can you be Yosef by mechanical reproduction of the shofar sound, a CD, on a tape, or through a microphone, telephone, radio? Nope, you cannot hear the reverberation, the echo, or the reproduction of a shofar. You have to hear the shmoa kol shofar, the shofar, not the kol of the shofar. An echo is no good. No good. Reverb is no good. No artificial reproduction. You can't do that. Like I think with the Megillah. You must hear the Megillah from the Baal Kore's mouth, not through a telephone or microphone or a radio or anything. You can't do that. Shouldn't you do Yom Kippur before Rosh Hashanah? Shouldn't you do tshuva then stand trial? Yes. All the Rishonim ask that question. The answer why we don't do it is because most people are lazy. First, you have to shock them. Chayiv Risa, Hashem said, you're deaf, you're finished, you're dead this year. Now you're going to go for an appeal and come begging, and 10 days later, Hashem will forgive you if you did tshuva. So most people have to be shocked into waking up. Then they'll do tshuva. That's why Rosh Hashanah is Yom Hadin. Comes before Yom Kippur, Day of Rachmin. Rosh Hashanah is very strict. Yom Kippur is all mercy. That's why it's the greatest of all Yom Tovim. Why is Rosh Hashanah the first day of the year? It is. It's not. It's the first day of the 7th month, the Torah says. So as far as the Jewish calendar is concerned, it's the first day of the 7th month. We Jews know it's the first day of the 7th month, but it's also the first day of the year. For all Jews and Gentiles and animals and rain and whatever's going to happen to decide on Rosh Hashanah. So it's the first day of the year, but not the first day of the months. Because Rosh Hashanah is the first day of the 7th month. Elul is the 11th month. I know. We have Yom Tovim months. And we have judgment years months. When everybody's judged, that's Rosh Hashanah. First day of Nisan is also Rosh Hashanah. For Yom Tovim. Why don't Sfardim do kaporas with a tarnagol? because the Maran, the Machaber, forbids it. He calls it Darchei Ho'amori, and a Gentile rite. The Ramah says, which is, we follow the Ramah, the Ashkenazim, says, don't you dare listen to that. Asur Lashanos, you're not allowed to change our old minhag of taking if you can get it, a white rooster for a male and a white hen for a female, and if the mother has get pregnant, you don't know which is inside, male or female, you take both of them, and you take a male for all yourself and all the men, and a hen, a tarnagoles for women and all the women. You can make all the women under one. Everybody does not have to have their own kaporos. You can have. When I was young, I was in yeshiva, very big yeshiva, very big. They took one rooster for 500 men. That's it, done. And then when you come home, you take one hen for your wife and all the little girls there. One, you can use one for 1,000 people. Everyone should have his own rooster and hen. That is a business technique to sell roosters. It became a business, like all businesses. It's only symbolic. You can do one rooster for hundreds of people, one hen for hundreds of women. Why don't Svardim go to Tashlich? Because it's an Ashkenaz minhag. And they go, now they might, but it's not brought down under Svardish and not by the Machaber of the Shulchan Aruch. The Ramah says, we Ashkenaz go to Tashlich on the first day of Rosh Hashanah. If it's the Shabbos, we go to the second day because we don't want people to carry the Machzor. And by the way, the Art Scroll and all these other people has 10 and 11 pages for Tashlich. It's only 1 or 2, maximum 3 pesukim that take exactly half a minute. If you want to stay there half an hour and say those pages, it's very good, but it's better to learn, for a man, it's better to learn Torah. Look at Shulchan Aruch. You say 1 or 2 or 3 pesukim, that's it. Half a minute. But you have to print, books and Tashlich, the whole pamphlet and Tashlich and the whole history. You got to sell books. It's a business. I'm not putting down all those tefillos, Api Kabbalah, they're very deep, and I know. But in the Torah world, where we maximize Talmud Torah and learning the real technicalities of Torah, we could get a Mishnah Berurah says 3 pesukim is enough. And Dinei Shofar in the Shulchan Aruch happened to be chapter 586. Isn't that interesting that Shofar is Gematria 586? Tov Kuf Pei Vav 586. Dinei Shofar Shel Rosh Hashanah. Isn't that interesting that Shofar is 586 too? Shin and Rei, Shofar, is 500. And Pei is 80 and Vav 586. Is that an accident? No way. The Yavitz of Yaakov Emden says, Siman, it's a Siman, that the Shulchan Aruch was written by Ruach HaKodesh. Look at the Siddur of Sadi Gon, of Rabbi Yavitz, Yaakov ben Tzvi, that's of Yaakov Emden. That means Shofar is Shin Vav Pei Reish 586. Dinei Shofar is in Siman number 586. It's not an accident. And now, since we're talking about these questions, which you will see on Torah Anytime in 2 days, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you something very interesting. When we had 9/11, September 11th, 2001, that was a very, very, very auspicious occasion. It changed the world forever. That was on 1 week before Rosh Hashanah in 2001. That was on a Tuesday. Nobody ever forgets that. And it wasn't an army that invaded us. Some terrorists hijacked 2 planes with passengers in it, loaded with 10,000 gallons of fuel going overseas, and drove the plane into the Twin Towers and killed 3,000 people in those 2 buildings. It was the first day of Slichot. Those 2 buildings were usually loaded with Jews who work in the financial fields. 3,000 is very, very little. There's 10, 15, 20,000 people in those two buildings. It was the first day of Slichot, so most Jews came late, came after 9:15. And that was changed the world forever. That was in 9/11, 2001. The date happened to be Chav Gimel Elul, Tavshin Samach Aleph. If you add up Chav Gimel Elul, 23rd of Elul, Tavshin Samach Aleph, you come out to 851. Yeah, so. Well, that week was Pasha Kisavo, and the last two words of the Haftorah talks about Mashiach. I'm going to bring the Mashiach at its time. If you do tshuva, I'll bring him quicker. The last two words are Be'ito at its time, Achisheno. I'll make him come quicker. And that's 851. Also 851. Shem brought the destruction on that day. Be'ito Achisheno. Not Mashiach, 851. And Chav Gimel Elul, Tavshin somehow is the same as Be'ito Achisheno. And the third thing is, God said, I'm going to it says there, you're going to stay in the land until I drive you out. V'no shantem. And you will stay in the land until I drive you out. V'no shantem. I will drive you out. That's Gematria 851. Hashem is saying something to us. And they were supposed to be in Eretz Yisrael 852 years. God brought, because 858, Neshantim is 852, I think. So he drove them out, destroyed the second bias, the first bias after 850. If he would have stayed in another year or two, he would have destroyed the whole Jewish people. So here he only destroyed a building of rock and stone. Stone and wood. Which means he saved their lives by destroying a building, the Beis HaMikdash. And Neshantim, there's, I think 852, but they were destroyed after 850. So that means he drove them out, the beginning of the end. This Twin Towers on 9/11 was the beginning of the end. Chaim said that Gog and Magog has three chalokim. The first one, he said, was the First World War from 1914 to 1918. And everybody thought that was the last and the only in the World War. Then 20 years later, after 1918 to 1938, 39, came the Second World War. Chaim died in 1933 when Hitler took power. He knew that European Jewry was finished. He says the Second World War is the second part of Gog and Magog, and the third part will be in Eretz Yisrael, where Jews will be fighting Ishmael. Hey Iyar, Yom Ha'atzmaut, Friday. They had one day apiece, Shabbos. The next day was a war, and the last 62 years has been nothing but war. That was the third stage of Gog and Magog in Eretz Yisrael. Where is the third stage of Gog and Magog in America? 9/11. 9/11 was on Chav Gimel Elul Tavshin Samach Aleph. That's 851. Be'ito Achisheno 851. V'no Shantem is also 851. This is the beginning of the end of the world. You know that's leading to a world war, which will probably take one day. And it says there that all the Chachamim tell us, all of them, that the final war is going to be Edom against Yishmael, and Yisrael will be just watching, standing and watching how Edom destroys Yishmael. The most powerful Christian Edom is a Christian country. The most powerful Christian country probably is U.S. And the most powerful threat in the Yishmael world is Iraq. There's going to be war. And it says in Ovadia, in the beginning there, that Edom will destroy Yishmael. Esau will destroy Yishmael. Edom will destroy Yishmael. And then Edom gets destroyed. So Hashem uses bad people to do dirty work. Just like he used Hitler to destroy millions of Jews, and then Hitler blew his brains out by himself. There were 3 or 4 attempts on his life, they all failed. Hitler had to kill himself. That was the worst part, when you have to kill yourself. Not when someone else kills you, against your wishes. He thought he was going to be the emperor of the world, like Napoleon, like Alexander the Great. But he didn't end up like that. He ended up with a hole in his head. Interesting. So let us learn 3 things from this week's parasha that is astounding. In this week's Parshas Shoftim, it says, we'll be finished in 5 minutes. 3 astounding yedios we have to learn something from the parasha. You know, it's forbidden, it says here, for a Jew to consult voodoo and magic and necromancy and kishuv, and lo yimasiv achar shouldn't be found amongst you maver bano ubito baish, he who sacrifices his son or daughter in the fire. Either they give their child to the fire, or they jump over the fire, or they walk between 2 fires. It was called molech. We don't believe in molech. We believe in melech, malchi amlochim. We don't believe in shadim. We believe in shin dalid yud shakai. We don't believe in ovos, where you put bones under your armpit and it starts talking. We believe in the ovos. We don't believe in its seduki. We believe in its tzaddik. We don't have kadesha. We have kedusha. Everything in the world of avodah zarah and black magic and shadim is just the flip opposite of the emes. It's totally sheker, because the opposite of emes. Like a 9 is the opposite of a 6. 9 is emes and 6 is sheker. You know that? Emes, aleph, mem, tav. 1, mem, 40 is 4. Tav, 400 is 4. 4 and 4 is 8. 1 is 9. Anything in the Torah that's emes has a gematria of 9. Everything at sheker is 6. Shin, 300, 3. Kuf, 100. And Reish is 200. That's 600. 6. Everything that's sheker has a gematria. Mispar katan, if you eliminate the zeros, it's 6. Anyhow. That's molech. We don't do that. Koseim or diviner or ma'onain, he tells you certain times are good to do certain things. Or menachesh, he's black magic. Kish or kish of other magic. V'chover, he gets animals together and charms them. Pythons, he hypnotizes snakes. Shoel ovi yadoni, he asks birds, he takes birds' bones, puts under his tongue or under his armpit, and it starts talking, and they tell the truth. These things tell the truth. That's why it's forbidden. These things work for Goyim, not for us. The Dorish Elamasim, he speaks to dead bodies. So it says in the Torah, don't do any of these things. It's a disgusting thing to God, a perversion if you do any of these things. Because of these filthy things, God threw them out of their country. You got their country. We have a Navi. We ask live people, alive, not dead bones. We ask a Navi about what's going to be. So it says here in the Torah, about these terrible things, there's one occasion when you're allowed to do this. 3 astounding ideas. Number 1 is mutter for Yisrael to ask the Ov, a sorcerer who deals with bird bones, and Yidoni. There's a certain bird called Ov and Yidoni. You put it on your armpit or under your tongue, and it starts speaking, tells you things. When is that permissible? Under one condition, you can consult these women or men that do these things, these witches. Kishe'ein Navi, if there's no Navi, you can use them. Look at Shaul HaMelech. He went to a witch and raised up Shmuel HaNavi, and he dressed like a commoner because it was forbidden. He was the king of Israel. He knew it was forbidden, and he dressed like a commoner, so the witch shouldn't notice that he's the king of Israel. And Shmuel HaNavi came up head first. He was dead already. And he looked at the man there, who looked like a nobody. He says, "You must be a melech, because for a melech the body rises like this, and for a commoner it rises upside down." So she said, "Yeah, I'm Shaul HaMelech." He said, "Well, this is forbidden. You should kill me." He said, "No, but when there's no Navi, we are allowed to consult Ovi Odoni." Look at Or HaChaim HaKadosh. He discusses this. That's the first astounding thing. The second astounding thing is Som Tosim Olech HaMelech. It says in this parasha, Yud Zayin Tezvav 17 pasuk 15. Som Tosim Olech HaMelech. You have to put a melech over you for the shaving Yehuda. Says the Seforno. Lechatchila should be from Yehuda, but it could be from any shaman. And you know, Shaul HaMelech came from Binyamin. The 10 Shavatim came from Yosef. The Chashmonaim set up a melech, and they were Leviim. They set up a melech from Levi. So it says here, when there's no pure descendant of Yehuda, you can choose a melech from any shevet you want. That's in the Sefurna. And the third astounding thing is, when you do a Melchemes mitzvah, Goyim are invading your country, or you're going out to expand Eretz Yisrael to its original dimensions, which was from the Mediterranean 400 miles to the right to the Euphrates River, Nahar Hagadol, Nahar Paras. It says when the Gan Eden was described, there were 4 rivers, the Pishon, Gichon, Chidekel, and Paras. So Paras was the smallest, the last one, number 4. So why do you call it in other places Nahar Hagadol, Nahar Paras, the big river, the Euphrates River, which is between Iraq and Iran, which is 400 miles from Mediterranean Ocean. And so since it's something to do with Eretz Yisrael, that will be eventually, after Mashiach comes, the eastern border of Eretz Yisrael, therefore it's big, because it has to do with Eretz Yisrael. So, when you are expanding your property, or going to a Melchemes mitzvah, it says a pasuk there, "V'ochalta eshlal oivecha." You must eat up the booty of your enemy. Now, some hold Ramban and Rambam. Some hold if you have no kosher food, you can eat that food too. Others hold no, even if you have a lot of kosher food, it's not just a heter, it's a mitzvah, you must eat chazer. Mitzvah le'echol chazer, nevela, treifa, yayin nesach, arlo, klayim, every davar asur, because they hold, I think it's the Ramban, mitzvah, not just at mutar, mitzvah to eat it, because it says you should eat up shlal oyevecha, the booty of your enemy, destroy it by eating it. That's pretty astounding, 3 things, isn't it? Okay, Rabbi said we are finished for tonight. Here's Hashem. Next week we'll talk more about the Rosh Hashanah and more about the Parsha. As we get closer, we'll talk about, we have a sheet coming out after this Kodesh Elul sheet, the laws of Rosh Hashanah, about the Musaf, the davening, the Psukim, and all that. Okay, be good. Have a good week.